They tell you power is about noise, about showing teeth, about flexing muscle in the open. They are wrong. That's what the desperate do, the ones who fear being ignored. Real power doesn't beg for recognition. Real power doesn't announce itself. Real power is a shadow on the wall, a hand in the dark, a presence that bends the room without a single word spoken. You want to dominate your enemies? Then understand this truth. Domination isn't about confrontation. It's about orchestration. You don't fight your enemies head-on. You turn them into instruments in a symphony they don't even know you're conducting. Think of it as the silent throne, a rule so invisible, so untouchable, that no one dares question it, because they can't even prove it exists. You are the storm they never see coming. You are the hand that feeds them, while you tighten the leash around their neck. And when they finally notice, it's too late. By then, their mind, their choices, even their resistance, it already belongs to you. So I ask you, do you want to play the game? Or do you want to be the game? Type this in the comments to prove you understand. Power moves in silence. Number 1, the mask of obedience. If you want to dominate enemies without them ever knowing, the first law is simple: hide your claws. Show them your mask, the mask of obedience. This is the oldest and deadliest disguise in the playbook of power. Outwardly, you bow. Inwardly, you sharpen the blade. Outwardly, you let them believe they are above you. Inwardly, you study every crack in their armor. Your silence disarms them. Your humility sedates them. They believe they've won before the game even begins, and that's when they lower their guard. Machiavelli warned, men are driven by appearances. They see loyalty and think loyalty is real. They see humility and mistake it for weakness. But behind your eyes, calculation is alive. Behind your silence, strategy is breathing. You are not submitting, you are building. You are storing leverage, gathering information, and laying foundations. The truth is this: raw defiance exposes you. Obvious rebellion paints a target on your back. But obedience, that is camouflage. That is survival at its sharpest. When you play the obedient servant, you are not serving, you are studying. You are mapping their flaws, their impulses, their patterns. And when the day comes to strike, they will never see it. Because they believed the mask. They believed you were beneath them. They believed wrong. Understand this. Your enemy's arrogance is your weapon. Their trust in your obedience is the rope you will use to bind them. Every smile you give, every nod you offer, is a quiet tightening of that rope. And by the time they notice the pressure, it will already be around their throat. You see, the true genius of domination is patience. Anyone can roar, few can wait. Anyone can fight, few can dissolve into silence and let the other man become blind. But if you can wear the mask long enough, if you can make obedience your art, you become untouchable. They cannot defend against what they cannot even see. Never forget this: obedience is not surrender. Obedience is deception. It is misdirection. It is the sheep's wool draped over the wolf. And in that disguise, you gain the most valuable thing in power: time. Time to wait, time to maneuver, time to kill without ever raising suspicion. So type this in the comments right now and burn it into your mind. Obedience is my weapon. Because it is. And it always has been. Number 2, the game of perception. Power is not about truth. Power is about perception. Understand this. The world doesn't reward reality. It rewards the illusion of reality. People don't care who you are at your core. They care about the story they think is true. And here lies the most dangerous law of power. Whoever controls perception controls the battlefield. Machiavelli said men judge more with their eyes than with their minds. They are addicted to appearances. They do not think deeply. They do not analyze beyond the surface. They accept what looks convincing and call it truth. That is why perception is stronger than reality, because most men will never go beyond what they see. Your task is to use this blindness, to weaponize it, Never let anyone see the whole of you. Truth makes you vulnerable. Mystery makes you untouchable. Instead, feed them fragments. Give them shadows. Let them build their understanding of you from the pieces you allow. That illusion becomes their prison. Think about it. If they believe you are weak, you can move in silence, gathering strength, preparing the strike. They won't suspect a thing because they are blinded by the image you fed them. If they believe you are harmless, they invite you close, never realizing the dagger rests beneath your cloak. If they believe you are noble, they will never suspect betrayal until it is too late. This is the essence of perception. The mask you wear becomes their reality. And when their mind is conquered, their body follows. Now, here's the darker truth. Once a perception is set, reality bends to serve it. People will defend their illusion about you even when the evidence is stacked against it. They will fight to protect their belief because admitting they were wrong wounds their pride. So they cling to the image, blind to reality. That is why perception is more powerful than truth. Truth requires proof. Perception defends itself. Your enemies will never see you as you are. They will only see the version of you they've accepted. And you decide what version they see. That is power. But this requires discipline. You must become an illusionist. You must sculpt the images they consume. When it serves you, let them underestimate you. Pretend to be the fool, the harmless, the forgettable shadow. They will ignore you until you strike. When it suits you, let them overestimate you. Appear larger than life, more dangerous than you are, and they will hesitate to move against you. Fear does the killing for you. Do you see how this works? Your control of perception turns every enemy into their own jailer. If they think you're weak, they will not guard against you. If they think you're too strong, they will not dare challenge you. Either way, you win. And the most delicious part, they never realize you engineered it. This is why you must never reveal everything. Mystery is leverage. Secrecy is armor. The more they know, the more they can use. The less they know, the more they invent. And what they invent is always less dangerous than the truth you conceal. Understand, you are not playing against people. You are playing against minds. And the human mind is fragile. It craves stories, shortcuts, appearances. Feed it what it hungers for, and it will swallow the hook whole. Give them an image to believe in, and they will chain themselves with it. Do not waste time trying to change reality. Control perception, and reality will bend to follow. That is how emperors rose. That is how tyrants ruled. That is how kings fell, when someone else controlled how they were seen. So burn this into your memory. Power does not belong to the honest. Power belongs to the unseen sculptor, the one who molds perception while hiding behind the mask. And I want you to prove to yourself that you've understood. In the comments, write this phrase: perception bends reality, because it does. And once you master this law, you'll never again be chained by the truth. Number 3, the economy of words. Words are weapons, but most men do not know how to wield them. They swing them carelessly, like dull blades. They talk too much. They reveal too much. They drown themselves in their own noise, and in that noise they bleed power. Weak men are addicted to talking. They cannot stand silence. They cannot stand not being understood. So they explain, they justify, they defend. They empty their arsenal until there's nothing left but vulnerability. And once they've bled themselves dry, their enemies don't even have to attack because their tongue has already betrayed them. If you want to dominate enemies without them ever realizing it, you must master the economy of words. This is the law. Speak less, observe more. Every word you utter must be sharpened, intentional, precise. Do not speak to fill silence. Do not speak to be liked. Do not speak to soothe your ego. Speak only when it benefits you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Silence is a weapon that cuts deeper than noise. It unsettles. It makes others nervous. They will rush to fill the void you leave. And in doing so, they will reveal their weaknesses. Pay attention. Silence makes men expose themselves far more than interrogation ever could. Think about it. The one who listens learns. The one who talks wastes. And the one who says little, he becomes a mystery. And mystery is feared. Men do not respect what they fully understand. They respect what they cannot predict. They fear what they cannot read. This is why your silence must be disciplined, not passive, not timid, calculated, strategic. The less you speak, the more your words gain weight. Scarcity creates value. When your voice is rare, people lean in. They hang on every syllable. You do not need to shout to command a room. You need only to speak rarely and with purpose. Machiavelli himself warned that rulers who reveal too much lose control. The predictable man can be cornered. The transparent man can be broken. But the man who guards his tongue, who cloaks his thoughts in silence, who lets others guess at his intentions, he cannot be trapped because he is unreadable. And understand this. Control of words is control of perception. If you reveal little, they cannot predict you. If you speak carefully, they cannot twist your meaning. If you master silence, they cannot resist projecting their own assumptions onto you. Their assumptions will always serve you more than the truth. When someone asks you a question that weakens you, do not answer it. When someone demands clarity that gives away your position, remain ambiguous. Cloak your thoughts in riddles if necessary. Let them misinterpret. Let them invent their own version of your truth. They will live inside their illusion while you remain untouchable. And remember, never argue more than necessary. Argument exposes emotion. Argument exposes insecurity. Weak men fight with words to prove they are right. Strong men do not explain. They declare. They command. They allow silence to settle like a blade at the throat. The silence speaks louder than defense ever could. The tongue is a double-edged sword. It can crown you or it can hang you. Guard it like a weapon. Treat it like gold. Spend it sparingly. Hoard it wisely. And when you choose to use it, make sure it strikes. But here's the darker truth. Silence is not just defensive, it is offensive. Silence is a psychological attack. Few things disturb a man more than uncertainty. When you say little, he imagines much. And what he imagines is always worse than what you could have said. His mind becomes your weapon. His paranoia becomes your servant. His fear becomes your leash. Think about the generals who never revealed their next move. Think about the leaders who let others guess while they stayed unreadable. That mystery was their shield. That restraint was their sword. That silence was their empire. So discipline yourself. Kill the urge to overshare. Kill the weakness of needing to be understood. Let others choke on their own noise while you sharpen your silence into steel. Be the man who wastes nothing, not even a syllable. And I want you to prove it. In the comments, write this phrase: silence sharpens power, because it does. And once you master this law, your enemies will find themselves defeated long before you even open your mouth. Number 4, the currency of fear. There is a currency more valuable than money, more binding than loyalty, more permanent than love. That currency is fear. Understand this. Men may respect you today, but respect is fragile. Respect shifts with status, with popularity, with mood. They may admire you, but admiration is fickle. It withers the moment you stumble. They may even love you, but love is the weakest of all. It turns to hatred the instant you deny desire. But fear endures. Fear does not shift with opinion. Fear does not fade with fashion. Fear survives betrayal, because betrayal cannot sprout where terror has already taken root. Fear is the steel chain that binds men tighter than devotion, tighter than admiration, tighter than the fleeting glow of love. Machiavelli asked, "Is it better to be loved or feared?" His answer was timeless. If you cannot be both, choose fear. Love is voluntary. Fear is permanent. Love depends on the goodwill of others. Fear depends only on your power to instill it. Now understand this. Fear does not always appear as screaming terror. It doesn't always wear the mask of cruelty. Fear can be subtle. It can be quiet. The most effective fear is not the whip or the sword. It is the whisper, the invisible weight that says, Do not cross him. The most powerful rulers in history were not feared because they shouted the loudest. They were feared because they carried an aura. They were unpredictable. They were unreadable. Their silence was as threatening as their command. Men feared not just their strength, but the uncertainty of how that strength might be used. That is the art. Fear through mystery. You must let your enemies believe you are capable of anything, not because you constantly prove it, but because you never deny it. You do not show all your weapons. You do not reveal your limits. You let them imagine for themselves. And understand this, the human imagination always invents punishments far more terrifying than reality. Fear is not always in your actions. It is in your presence. It is in the way you walk into a room and shift the air, the way you let silence hang longer than comfortable, the way your gaze does not break, the way you refuse to explain yourself. Each of these small signals whispers, "This man is dangerous." And here's the Machiavellian truth. Fear must be respected, not squandered. If you wield fear carelessly, if you lash out at every shadow, crush every whisper, you will exhaust it, overuse it, and your enemies will band together against you. Fear used without precision breeds rebellion, but fear applied with calculation keeps them paralyzed. The wise ruler does not punish constantly. He does not threaten daily. He does not reveal his wrath at every offense. He waits. He watches. And when the strike comes, it is rare but absolute. It is so decisive, so unforgettable, that the memory itself becomes a warning. 1,000 men can be controlled by the shadow of a single punishment if it is executed with enough precision. This is how fear is multiplied, not by frequency, but by impact. The more rare the strike, the more legendary its echo. A ruler who punishes every day is seen as cruel but predictable. A ruler who punishes rarely but decisively is remembered as untouchable. But let me reveal a darker truth. Fear is not only for enemies. Fear must also exist among allies. Love binds temporarily. Respect binds conditionally. Fear binds permanently. A man may hesitate to betray you if he loves you, but he will never betray you if he fears you. This is why leaders throughout history, even those who were adored, still kept an aura of fear around them. They smiled, but they were not soft. They rewarded loyalty, but they did not tolerate betrayal. Their presence was warm to allies, but cold to potential traitors. They struck a balance between approachability and danger, and that balance ensured no one dared test the line. Think about every empire, every dynasty, every kingdom that lasted more than a single generation. Strip away the gold, the banners, the ceremonies, and you will find one truth at the foundation: fear. It is the one force that unites, controls, and sustains power across time. It is the invisible leash that keeps men in line when everything else fails. But here is the key. Fear must be invisible, not hysterical. Fear must be cold, not desperate. A man who begs to be feared is weak. A man who radiates danger without saying a word is untouchable. That is what you must embody. Quiet intimidation, silent pressure, cold presence. Speak little, strike rarely, but when you strike, let it echo across the walls of time. Let the story of your wrath travel farther than your actual hand, because stories of fear live longer than the man himself. Fear, when mastered, makes you untouchable, because men do not attack what they dread. They do not test what they cannot predict. They do not move against the shadow that could crush them at any moment. And that shadow is you. So remember, love fades, respect shifts, admiration evaporates, but fear remains. Fear hardens into legend. Fear endures. Fear is the final currency. Write it in the comments and brand it into your mind. Fear is the final currency. Because once you learn how to spend it wisely, you will never need to beg for loyalty again. Number 5, the power of patience. Power belongs not to the loudest, not to the fastest, not to the most aggressive. Power belongs to the man who can wait. Understand this. Impatience is the signature of the weak. Weak men are restless. They cannot bear to delay gratification. They cannot sit in silence without scratching at the walls. They must act, they must prove, they must move. And in their haste, they stumble. In their rush, they reveal. In their desperation, they hand their enemies every advantage. But patience. Patience is the weapon of kings. Patience is the fortress of tyrants. Patience is the secret law of predators. The lion does not roar before the kill. The serpent does not hiss before the strike. The hawk circles for hours before descending. They wait, motionless, unreadable, until the exact moment when the prey has no chance. That is patience. That is precision. That is domination. You want to dominate enemies without them ever realizing it. You must make patience your ally, your silence, your restraint, your willingness to hold position while others exhaust themselves. That is the mark of a ruler. Impatience burns energy. Patience builds it. While others throw themselves into battles, burning resources, showing their hands, you sit, cold and calm, watching. You gather information. You test reactions. You let time do your work for you. And when the opening reveals itself, you move with precision. Machiavelli himself wrote that fortune favors those who know when to wait and when to strike. Most men act too soon. Few have the strength to hold still. The patient man becomes a ghost, impossible to predict, impossible to trap. And when he finally acts, it feels as if the strike came from nowhere. Patience is not passive. Patience is not weakness. Patience is active control. It is resistance against the urge to waste energy. It is the discipline to watch while others crumble under their own impulsiveness. Patience allows you to turn time itself into your servant. Understand this. Every enemy makes mistakes. Every rival leaves cracks. Every opponent eventually overextends. But most men never see these cracks because they are too busy rushing. The patient man sees them all. He studies them. He waits for them to widen. And when the moment comes, he does not hesitate. Here is the paradox. Patience makes you faster. Why? Because while others scramble at every opportunity, you conserve energy for the decisive one. You do not waste yourself on half chances. You save everything for the strike that matters. When that strike comes, you hit harder, cleaner, deadlier, and your enemies, exhausted from their own impatience, collapse with little resistance. Patience is also the art of concealment. While you wait, your enemies reveal themselves. They talk too much. They act too soon. They expose their strategy. And all the while, you remain unreadable. Your stillness becomes a mirror in which they expose their own flaws. This is why patience terrifies men. They cannot stand silence. They cannot stand uncertainty. When you wait without reaction, you unsettle them. They push harder, trying to provoke you. They want to see your hand. They want to read your weakness, but your patience denies them that. And the more you refuse to react, the more they unravel. Patience is psychological warfare. It forces your enemies to fight shadows. They begin to doubt themselves. They imagine threats that aren't there. They overthink, overmove, overreact. By the time you strike, they've already beaten themselves. History proves it. The empires that endured were not built by men who rushed. They were built by rulers who could wait, who could play the long game. The man who chases every short-term win dies with nothing. The man who waits for the right moment builds dynasties. But patience requires strength. It requires you to kill your impulses. It requires you to silence the voice that screams, now, now, now. It requires you to master yourself. Because the first enemy of patience is your own ego. Ego wants to show power. Ego wants recognition. Ego wants immediate victory. But ego is the death of kings. The man of patience knows this. Victory is not always today. Victory belongs to the man who can sacrifice today for 10 tomorrows. Victory belongs to the man who lets time soften his enemies, who lets them destroy themselves while he remains unshaken. Think of the general who refuses to be baited into battle. His army rests while the enemy wastes its strength. By the time he chooses to strike, the field is already his. Think of the investor who waits years, while others gamble on fads. By the time his move comes, the fortune is his. Think of the ruler who endures insults without reaction, storing them like arrows in a quiver. When he finally responds, the world knows he was always in control. Patience is not just strategy. It is a presence. It is an aura. When you embody patience, men sense it. They sense your stillness. They sense your calm. And it unsettles them, because stillness is power, because calmness is control. Remember this: the man who cannot be rushed cannot be controlled. The man who does not react cannot be manipulated. The man who waits cannot be cornered. He is the master of time itself, and that must be you. Do not rush, do not break, do not let impatience drag you into traps. Hold your silence, guard your movements. Let the world burn with its own haste while you sit unmoved. And when you strike, strike like lightning, sudden, absolute, undeniable. That is the power of patience, the weapon of kings, the fortress of predators, the shield of rulers. So write this in the comments now. Time bends to the patient, because it does. And when you understand that, you will realize patience is not waiting, patience is domination. Number 6, the art of division. Power is never about uniting everyone. Power is about dividing the right ones. Unity is dangerous. A united enemy grows bold. A united rival becomes strong. A united group is difficult to move. But fracture that unity, seed distrust, whisper suspicion, stir rivalry, and you don't need to fight them. They fight themselves. This is one of the oldest laws of control: divide and conquer. The Romans mastered it. They didn't defeat entire nations by brute force alone. They broke alliances, turned leaders against each other, and let suspicion eat loyalty from the inside. Machiavelli understood this truth well. Enemies who distrust one another cannot unite against you. You want to dominate your enemies without them realizing it? Then master the art of division. Start with trust. Trust is the fragile glue that binds men together. Break it, and the structure collapses. You don't need to attack it directly. You don't need to accuse openly. All you need to do is suggest. Whisper in the right ear. Raise a single question. Create a shadow where there was none. People are quick to suspect. They are eager to believe betrayal exists. Once suspicion enters, it poisons everything. A single rumor can dismantle an alliance. A single doubt can unravel years of loyalty. A single suggestion of betrayal can turn friends into rivals overnight. And the beauty of it, they will never blame you. They will blame each other. Division doesn't always require lies. Often, the truth is enough. Every group has cracks, ego colliding with ego, ambition clashing with ambition, jealousy festering quietly beneath the surface. You don't need to invent these cracks. You only need to expose them, highlight them, widen them, feed them. Favoritism is another weapon. Reward one man more than the others. Praise him in public. Give him privileges others lack. The rest will simmer with envy. Rivalries will grow. Resentment will bloom. They will fight for your approval, claw at each other, weaken themselves, all while you sit above them, untouched. But beware, division is not chaos. Chaos without control can destroy you too. Division must be engineered like a surgeon's cut, precise, controlled, deliberate. Too much pressure and the wound bleeds out of control. Too little and nothing happens. The art is in knowing exactly where to apply the blade. Think of yourself as a cartographer of human weakness. You study the terrain of pride, ambition, resentment, and vanity. You map the fault lines. You press gently until they split, and once they split, you retreat. Let the fracture spread on its own. Men will do the rest for you. The truth is this: every bond is weaker than it appears. Even the closest friendships hold hidden tensions. Even the most loyal allies harbor envy. Even the most united groups contain ambition ready to break free. Division doesn't create weakness, it reveals it. You are not fabricating conflict. You are accelerating what already exists. History is proof. Empires crumble not because of external attacks, but because of internal division. Rome was not destroyed by invaders alone. It rotted from within, as senators conspired against emperors, generals plotted against rivals, and factions devoured one another. Division is the oldest disease of power and the easiest to infect. Now here's the darker side. Division is not only for enemies, division is also for allies. If your followers are too united, they grow confident. Confidence breeds boldness. Boldness breeds rebellion. But if you subtly divide them, if you keep them competing for your approval, if you ensure they never fully trust each other, they will never unite against you. They will be bound to you, not to one another. Machiavelli warned that rulers must never allow strong alliances among their subjects. A ruler must be the center of gravity, the one everyone depends on. Division ensures this. When no one can fully trust each other, everyone turns upward for guidance, for protection, for your word. Division makes you indispensable, and this is the beauty of it. You don't need to dominate directly. You let jealousy, rivalry, and distrust do the work for you. You become the calm in the storm, the only figure above the chaos, the one they cling to when the fractures widen. But remember, subtlety is the key. If you are seen as the source of division, you will be hated and exposed. The art is invisibility. Whisper here, favor there. A pause in the right conversation, a silence in the right moment. Let others believe the division comes from themselves. Let them think the cracks were always there. Because the truth is, they were. Unity is an illusion. Men are too selfish, too ambitious, too insecure to remain perfectly loyal forever. You don't invent division, you simply shine a light on what already exists. And once revealed, it cannot be undone. Your enemies will destroy each other while you stand untouched. Your allies will compete for scraps while you remain the judge. And all the while, your position grows stronger, not because you fought harder, but because you fractured smarter. This is the Machiavellian way. Do not waste your strength fighting enemies head-on. Break their unity. Do not exhaust yourself crushing allies with suspicion. Divide them before they unite. Rule not by force alone, but by fracture. So burn this law into your memory and prove you've absorbed it. Write in the comments, division is domination. Because once you master the art of division, you will never again face a united enemy. You will never again face a rebellion too strong. You will never again waste energy fighting what can be broken from within. Your enemies will devour themselves. Your rivals will destroy each other. Your followers will compete for your favor. And you will rule, not by unity, but by division. Number 7, the mastery of emotion. Emotion is the leash that controls men. Most people think they are rational. They think they make choices with logic, with reason, with clarity. They are wrong. Men are not driven by logic. They are slaves to emotion, fear, envy, pride, anger, desire. These are the invisible masters of the human mind. Strip away the appearances, the excuses, the masks, and you'll see everything they do is emotional. Every betrayal, every alliance, every war, every love, every act of loyalty or treason, all of it. Emotion. The weak man is ruled by his feelings. The strong man rules over them. And the ruler of men, the true strategist, masters both, his own emotions and the emotions of others. That is how you dominate without being seen. First, let's talk about yourself. Your emotions are your first enemy. Anger will betray you. Pride will expose you. Desire will enslave you. Impulse will destroy you. The man who cannot govern himself has no business governing others. Machiavelli warned that princes who cannot master themselves are doomed because their enemies will exploit their weakness. If you are quick to anger, they will provoke you. If you are greedy, they will tempt you. If you are prideful, they will flatter you. If you are lustful, they will bait you. Whatever rules you can be used against you. This is why stoicism is essential. Cold detachment. You must learn to feel everything but show nothing. To bleed on the inside but wear steel on the outside. To rage in your heart but let your face remain still as stone. Emotion must never guide your moves. Logic, timing, calculation. These must be your compass. Think of yourself as an actor on a stage. You choose which emotions to display and when. You show anger when it is useful. You show compassion when it disarms. You show humility when it hides your power. But you do not feel them, you wear them. They are masks, costumes, tools. You are the sculptor of your image, not the prisoner of your feelings. Now, let's turn to others. If you want to dominate men without them realizing it, you must master their emotions. And here lies the paradox. Most people are desperate to believe they are logical, but deep down, they want their emotions fed. They want to be flattered. They want to be feared. They want to feel loved, admired, envied, respected. The one who gives them this becomes their master. Fear is the most permanent. We've already spoken of that. But there are others. Pride is a chain. If you make a man feel important, if you appeal to his ego, you can lead him anywhere. Envy is a weapon. If you make one man jealous of another, you turn allies into rivals. Desire is a leash. If you control what men crave, you control the men themselves. Anger is a trap. If you provoke it in others, they will destroy themselves in haste. Your task is to read these emotions, then manipulate them. You do not need to fight men directly. You simply guide their feelings until they act exactly as you want. They believe it was their choice. They never realize it was yours. For example, if you want someone neutralized, do not always strike them directly. Instead, provoke their pride. Let them insult a stronger man. Let their ego start a war they cannot win. You didn't touch them, yet you destroyed them. If you want loyalty, do not beg for it. Instead, feed a man's desire to feel significant. He will cling to you because you make him feel what no one else does. If you want obedience, do not demand it. Instead, create fear, not loud fear, but quiet fear. The fear of losing your favor, the fear of your silence. That fear will chain him tighter than any order. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said men are ruled more easily by their passions than their reason. Control the passions, and you control the man. But remember, never show that you are pulling the strings. The greatest puppeteer is invisible. If people suspect you are manipulating them, they resist. If they believe their emotions are their own, they obey. Your task is not to force emotions. It is to steer them, gently, subtly, invisibly. Here lies the coldest truth. Men are predictable because emotions are predictable. Pride always blinds. Fear always binds. Desire always corrupts. Anger always exposes. Use these patterns and you can read the future. Because men will always repeat themselves. And while others are slaves to these forces, you stand above them, detached, calm, controlled. That is your advantage. You are not dragged into the fire. You hold the leash. This is why rulers throughout history were never the most emotional. They were the most controlled. Caesar could charm the masses with passion, but in private he was cold and calculating. Napoleon could ignite soldiers with speeches, but in silence he was studying maps with the stillness of ice. The strongest men are never those who feel the most. They are those who feel and bend emotion into tools. So understand this, your enemies will try to use emotions against you. They will try to bait your anger, to manipulate your pride, to tempt your desire, to mock your patience. Do not give them the satisfaction. Smile when they provoke. Stay silent when they mock. Wait when they rush. Watch when they burn. By denying them your reaction, you starve them, and in starving them, you gain control. Emotion is a battlefield. If you are weak, it consumes you. If you are strong, you wield it like a sword, so discipline yourself. Master your face. Master your tone. Master your presence. Let no man read you unless you choose to be read. And when you do show emotion, let it be deliberate, calculated, a mask you wear to control the room. This is the mastery of emotion, to rule yourself absolutely and to rule others invisibly. The weak man is a slave to his heart. The strong man chains his heart. The ruler chains the hearts of others. So write this in the comments and make it yours. I master emotions, they don't master me. Because once you understand this law, you'll see men for what they really are. Puppets on strings they never see, and you'll know exactly how to pull them. Number 8, the shadow of ruthlessness. Mercy is beautiful in theory. In practice, mercy is often weakness. Understand this. The world respects ruthlessness, not cruelty for its own sake, not chaos, not blind violence, true ruthlessness. The cold ability to do what must be done when others hesitate. The ability to cut ties, remove threats, silence rebellion, without apology, without hesitation, without regret. Most men cannot do this. They are too soft, too sentimental, too bound by illusions of morality. They think kindness earns loyalty. They think forgiveness makes them noble. But nobility without strength is a grave. Mercy without strategy is suicide. Machiavelli taught this clearly. Cruelty, if used well, can be more merciful than mercy itself, because indecision breeds disorder. Weakness breeds rebellion. When a leader hesitates to punish, chaos grows. And chaos harms far more people than one decisive act of severity. You want to dominate enemies without them realizing it? Then understand this law. Mercy has its place, but ruthlessness builds order. When you face a threat, you must act swiftly. Do not wound, destroy. Do not punish halfway. Make the lesson unforgettable. Half measures invite revenge. Full measures end resistance. A man you half crush will never stop plotting. A man you obliterate cannot. But ruthlessness must be wielded like a scalpel, not a hammer. Use it rarely, use it precisely, use it so decisively that you never need to repeat it. Overuse it, and you appear cruel. Use it wisely, and you appear inevitable. Think of a ruler who tolerates betrayal. Every time he forgives, the seed grows. Others watch. They learn he is soft. They test him again. Soon the whole court becomes infected. But the ruler who eliminates one traitor without hesitation sends a message louder than any speech. The others fall in line. Fear maintains order where mercy failed. This is the shadow of ruthlessness. It terrifies men because it is cold, not emotional. Emotional violence is sloppy. Cold ruthlessness is clean, efficient, undeniable. Men respect it because they know they cannot reason with it. But here is the paradox. The ruthless man is often remembered as merciful in the long run. Why? Because his severity prevents chaos. Because his decisiveness spares thousands by crushing one. Weak leaders who cannot act are responsible for endless suffering. Strong leaders who act decisively may prevent suffering altogether. History proves it. Think of rulers who allowed rebellion to grow, who tried to appease enemies, who forgave again and again. They all fell. Their empires collapsed under the weight of disloyalty. Now think of those who cut fast, who ended threats before they spread. They endured. Their names became legend. But do not mistake ruthlessness for brutality. Brutality is blind. Brutality is sloppy. Brutality is the mark of a savage, not a strategist. Ruthlessness is different. Ruthlessness is precise. It does not waste. It does not flail. It does not destroy for pleasure. It destroys for necessity. That is why it works. That is why it endures. And understand this. Ruthlessness is not only external, it must be internal. You must be ruthless with yourself, ruthless with your laziness, ruthless with your hesitation, ruthless with your own excuses. Because if you cannot cut weakness out of yourself, how will you cut it out of others? The man who cannot master ruthlessness within will never wield it without. He will hesitate, he will stumble, he will falter when it matters most. But the man who practices ruthlessness against his own flaws is unstoppable, because he knows the taste of sacrifice, because he has already sharpened his blade on himself. Now let's speak of perception. Ruthlessness creates aura. Even if you rarely use it, The knowledge that you can makes others cautious. They hesitate. They second guess. They think twice before crossing you. And you may never need to act because the shadow of your ruthlessness walks into every room before you do. But again, subtlety is power. If you are seen as bloodthirsty, men will unite against you. If you are seen as measured but capable, they will fear you. The difference is survival. Remember this: one decisive act of ruthlessness creates more order than 100 acts of mercy. A single well-placed punishment can prevent years of chaos. This is why Machiavelli advised princes to strike once, strike hard, and then build stability on the silence that follows. Here's the darker truth: mercy feels good to you. Ruthlessness feels good to your enemies. Because every time you show weakness disguised as compassion, they grow bolder. They see your kindness not as nobility, but as an opening, and openings are invitations. So the choice is simple: act with decisive ruthlessness when required, or drown in the mercy that betrays you. And make no mistake, this law does not only apply to thrones, empires, or armies. It applies to life. In business, if you allow disloyalty, it will spread. In relationships, if you forgive betrayal without consequence, you invite it again. In personal growth, if you tolerate your own excuses, you will rot. Ruthlessness is the scalpel that cuts away what cannot be allowed to live. The weak man avoids hard choices. The strong man makes them. The ruler does not simply make them. He makes them without hesitation, without apology, without fear. That is the shadow of ruthlessness: cold, decisive, unforgettable. So remember this: mercy has its place. But mercy must serve strategy, not sabotage it. And when the time comes to act, act like steel, not halfway, not trembling, not uncertain, absolute, final. That is how you dominate. That is how you endure. And I want you to anchor this truth into your mind forever. Write it in the comments now. Ruthlessness builds order, because it does. And when you master this law, you will never again be betrayed by softness disguised as strength. Number 9, the untouchable. All of this: silence, patience, invisibility, division, fear, ruthlessness. It builds toward one final state, a condition so rare, so unshakable, that those who reach it stand apart from the rest of humanity. The goal is not simply power. The goal is to become untouchable. Most men live their lives exposed. They talk too much. They move too fast. They reveal their intentions with every gesture. They depend on love, on approval, on recognition from others. And in that dependence, they are weak. They give the world weapons to use against them, chains to drag them down, open doors for betrayal. But the untouchable man closes every door. He reveals nothing. He depends on nothing. He moves in silence. He controls his impulses. He bends time through patience. He fractures unity through division. He rules perception instead of being ruled by it. He strikes rarely, but when he does, the memory echoes forever. That combination makes him impossible to corner, impossible to predict, impossible to defeat. The untouchable man does not play the game like others. He is the game. To become untouchable, you must first kill the disease of exposure. Do not flaunt your ambition. Do not parade your victories. Do not reveal your strategy. Invisibility is your shield. Let others underestimate you. Let them ignore you. Their blindness is your advantage. By the time they realize, it is already too late. Then comes patience. The untouchable man does not rush. He is not dragged into reckless moves by ego or impulse. He waits, calm as stone, while others exhaust themselves. He watches them stumble. He lets time sharpen his advantage. And when he finally moves, it is with devastating precision. His strike is not loud, it is final. The untouchable man rules his emotions. He does not bleed anger, lust, envy, or pride into the world. He feels everything but reveals nothing. He wears masks of his own choosing. Compassion when it serves, humility when it disarms, coldness when it terrifies. But underneath, he is controlled, disciplined, untouchable. And fear, the untouchable man, does not demand respect. He does not beg for loyalty. He allows his presence, his aura, his stillness, his silence to speak for him. Men fear him not because he shouts, but because they do not know what he is capable of. Fear endures when love fades. Fear endures when respect dies. Fear is permanent. Division is his safeguard. He never allows unity against him. He whispers, he favors, he fractures. Rivals fight rivals. Allies distrust allies. Everyone is too busy guarding themselves to unite against him. And while they collapse into rivalry, he rises above them as the only stable force. Ruthlessness seals it. The untouchable man does not hesitate when severity is required. He does not strike often, but when he does, it is absolute. His punishment is clean, final, unforgettable, and that memory spreads faster than any threat. Men may doubt kindness, but they never doubt ruthlessness. Put these layers together and you understand the truth. Untouchability is not invincibility. It is not about being unbreakable. It is about never being placed in a position where you can be broken. It is about creating such an aura of mystery, patience, control, fear, and inevitability that no one dares to test you. The world bends around your silence. Men second-guess their moves before making them. Enemies destroy themselves before they ever touch you. The untouchable man is not loud. He does not need to be. He is not obvious. He does not need to be. His strength is not in the spectacle. It is in the shadow, the power of the unseen hand, the authority of the quiet presence, the inevitability of a fate no one can escape. This is the end state of power, not the crown on the head, not the roar of the crowd, not the applause of the masses. Those fade. The untouchable man outlives all of that. He does not rely on love or respect or recognition. He relies only on control, silent, invisible, absolute. So I ask you now, do you want to remain like the rest, exposed, dependent, vulnerable, or do you want to rise into silence, into control, into untouchability? If you're ready, then write this final phrase in the comments. I am untouchable. Say it. Own it. Let it burn into your mind. Because from this moment on, you are no longer just a player in the game. You are the game. And before you leave, remember this. Like the video, subscribe to Sigrhythm, and turn on notifications, because the path to becoming untouchable does not end here. This is only the beginning. Be silent, be patient, be ruthless, be untouchable,